Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, we are on our way to 6,000 subscribers. By the way, if you do want to become a member of the channel, because people have asked about this before, I don't really know what you'll get as members. You'll get something. There's a thing that says join next to the subscribe thing. I think if you want to do it, do it. But don't worry about it if you don't, but people have asked before, and there it is. I hope you've had a good day. Bank holiday Monday in the UK. If you're not in the UK, I don't know what it is to you, but to us, it is a bank holiday. I've actually been super busy today filming something very, very cool. Kind of the first time I've done anything like that before in my life, so that was very exciting. I might even still have makeup on from it, so that was very fun indeed. Lots to get into today. Obviously, it is the final week of the transfer window. The transfer window closes at 11 p.m. UK time on Friday. Man's cowlick. Yeah, that's my bad. And also, obviously, I haven't gone live since the Arsenal game, so I want to do a bit of a recap of that and talk a bit about my reaction to that. I think generally the negative reaction has been a bit over the top. Don't get me wrong, it was a very, very, very disappointing result based on the game, but I do think some of the reaction has been pretty wild for what it was. Good to see lots of you in the chat as always. Smithy, Nafisha, Leo, Joshua, Smithy again. Andreas, Ethan, Devin, Jake Madford, PV, Sharmarky, Izzy, AFC, BFC, Kian, and Zarif. It is good to see you all. Don't let Gabriel leave. I back that sentiment. In fact, I really would like to see Gabriel back in the starting lineup at this point, but it is possible that he may still be on the move. Orly, Matthew, the Shadow Claw, and Noah, good to see you as well. And look, so we'll get the news out of the way, the transfer news, and then we'll talk about the Fulham reaction, because I don't know how long that'll take. Obviously, the stream will end at past today, because I'm on the Football Terrace at 6. So if you want to see me later, where I do think I'm going to have to be on the old Arteta defence mode on the Football Terrace later, then feel free to join that at 6 p.m. But Emile Smith-Rowe, it's in the title. Chelsea are considering a late move for Arsenal star Emile Smith-Rowe, as well as Barcelona pair Rafinha and Ferran Torres. This is coming from Simon Jones in the Mail. He said the names that have been floated for Chelsea as potential forward targets for the final week of the window include Ferran Torres and Rafinha from Barcelona, along with Arsenal's Emile Smith-Rowe. Interest is not advanced, but that trio are among the names being discussed by Chelsea hierarchy at this stage. Now, I don't want to see that happen. You know, when it came to Balogun and Chelsea, I was kind of like, look, if they pay the money, fair enough. It would kill me to see Smith-Rowe. Sorry. Nearly died. I mean, literally, it would kill me. Just the thought of it is nearly... The thought of Emile Smith-Rowe in a Chelsea shirt has just nearly taken my own life. It would be diabolical. It would be. And there is, look, obviously to an extent, there is an amount of money that I would take for it. But I really, really do not want to see that happen. And look, from Smith-Rowe's perspective, he's not played a single minute yet this season. He looked good, I thought, when we saw him in pre-season. I thought he looked good when he came on as a sub in the Community Shield. But he's not had a minute of game time. And there are reasons for that. I think we might have seen him against Crystal Palace, but obviously we ended up making 5 defensive substitutions because we went down to 10 men. The different knock. What a legend. More like Rory Talks Bollocks. Get it. It's original. What a legend. If you don't know, you all know the different knock. Go and check out his channel. What a lovely man. What a lovely man. I wouldn't blame him for leaving. Yeah, that's kind of my feeling. I wouldn't blame him for leaving, but I would blame him for leaving, for joining Chelsea. I would blame him for joining Chelsea. There's, I can't get over that. So I don't think it's going to happen. There's no real advanced talk between them. And I feel like for a player like Smith-Rowe, that would take a lot of negotiating between Arsenal and Chelsea because we'd have to get a lot of money for him. Jake Madford, I was watching Dan Potts after the game and there was a comment that stuck with me. Why has Arteta only started tinkering with the team like this when the league has started? He didn't do this before. I have seen that question. How many opportunities has he had? We played, 6 pre-season games? And how many of those pre-season games did we actually have our current group of players, it's quite difficult. I think I understand the point, and you could say, why were we playing with a back four with Gabriel in it the whole way through preseason if we weren't going to play him? And I don't know the full answer, but it's not like there have been loads of opportunities for us to tinker with the team. Guys, I just want to say Rory was clutch on something we filmed today. Top man. Look, it was a good day. It was a good day. I didn't embarrass myself. That was the main thing. Rory, are you worried Man United could beat Arsenal? Not really. I'm quite confident going into that game. If Arteta gets it right, if the players really have that sort of response that we need, and if United play the same way that they have been, I think we should be fine, in all honesty. Do you think Tierney has a future if he has a successful loan? Yeah, so obviously if you didn't see it, I assume you've all seen it by now. Kieran Tierney's gone on loan to Real Sociedad. I think it's a good loan for him. I think they're paying us just over £1 million plus covering all of his wages. And for him, if he gets to play a lot of game time, and I pray he avoids injury, playing Champions League football, it's great for him. It's great for him. And look, he might never come back into the Arsenal fold. I kind of feel like he probably won't come back into the Arsenal setup, but if he has a good season, we'll get a good amount for him, and he'll have had a proper season again. I think you can only imagine he's in his prime age-wise. Kieran Tierney is in his prime, and to not really play much is pretty brutal. Ross Lawman says bank holiday threw me off with the time lull. Hopefully not too late. Not at all, Ross. Not at all. Have you seen the Smith-Rowe rumours? Yeah, Rebecca, we just talked about that. So, yeah, Chelsea are considering a late move for Arsenal star Emil Smith-Rowe, and it really, really would upset me if it happened. Rob Holding. Fabrizio Romano saying Rob Holding is still expected to leave Arsenal in the final days of the transfer window. There are discussions now ongoing to make it happen. Understand there are also Spanish clubs that are asking for conditions of a deal for Rob Holding. But Simon Jones saying Holding to Besiktas now seems unlikely. So the plan is still to get rid of Rob Holding. It just is unclear where he's going to end up. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up somewhere in England. In all honesty. What's your ideal starting lineup if no players are injured? I'll answer that in a bit. Obviously, we'll talk about the game at the weekend a lot more as the week goes on. But on Gabriel, and this is slightly worrying, Sami Mokbel, who's been very, very good on Arsenal transfer news this summer, says even up until Friday, Arsenal are preparing themselves to strike, or were preparing themselves to strike for a new defender in the event that they can't. In the event of an offer that they cannot refuse for Gabriel. Crystal Palace's Mark Guehi is among the prominent targets. So look, Saudi are still interested in Gabriel, and if a ridiculous offer comes in that we can't turn down, we might accept it, and we might go and pick up someone like Mark Guehi. Now, that's far easier said than done. This is my worry about this, is that, if we lose Gabriel, we'll go and get Mark Guehi. A, I don't know that Mark Guehi's better than Gabriel. B, you're negotiating with Crystal Palace over their starting centre-back, 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, sorry. Very, very difficult to get done. Guehi absolutely, at first at least, would not be better than Gabriel in terms of fitting into the team, knowing the setup. And so it's not something I want to see happen. It's plain and simple. And I want Gabriel to be back in the starting lineup. I do understand the reasons that he's not been. I think a lot of people just think he's been dropped. A lot of people think that it's part of a plan to have Partey at right back and therefore make room for Kai Havertz. I think the reality is Zinchenko hasn't been fit to start. And when people say, well, he came off the bench, so he should be fit to start, he had a long injury. He was basically injured the entirety of the summer. It was a repeat of a muscular injury. He needs time to come back slowly. And I think, basically, when Zinchenko isn't available to Arteta, he wants Thomas Partey at right back to be the one that really inverts. And as a result, he's then fiddled around with the left back and that sort of left centre-back / left back. Why it hasn't been Gabriel, I think he preferred a right-footed player. If you look at the first two games, or even, if you look at the first two games, it was Timber at first, and then it was Tomiyasu, so he clearly preferred a right-footed player playing that role. And then it was Kivior against Fulham, and I think that's because Kivior is better on the ball than Gabriel. So I do think there's method to it, but I want to see Gabriel back in the starting lineup. I really do. He's just too good to be on the bench, is the truth. And especially the second goal we conceded against Fulham. God, if there's anyone I want in the box defending a corner, it's Gabriel. It really is. So we'll end up getting 80 mil for Gabby and have to buy Guehi. Would cost 60 mil, so it's not worth it for a 20 mil profit for a lesser quality player. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm worried that Zinchenko won't start against Man United, which will mean we'll probably see the same setup. Yeah, I share that fear. I do share that fear. And yeah, I mean, you know, Jakub here says, take me back to the old system. We're not that far away from the old system. It's just kind of flipped sides on who inverts and, you know, playing a back three. The real thing that we're lacking for me, that was one of my favourite things to watch about Arsenal last season, was last season our system. First of all, it meant that you'd often end up, if we played it quickly from one side of the pitch to the other, you'd get Martinelli or Saka in a 1-versus-1 with their fullback. We don't really see that anymore. So both of those two are struggling. And also, even if it was a 1v1 or a 1v2, you'd have an overlapping fullback, especially Ben White on that right-hand side. And we're not really seeing that either. And I miss that. So it's just frustrating. Do you know what, right? I'm going to block this Dactyl. Just so everyone knows, Dactyl actually DM'd me on Instagram. It turns out he's an actual full-grown man. He's like a normal guy with normal profile pic. It's him and his buddy. They're like probably early 20s. Like, this is a guy that actually sits at home. So he's not the sort of freak that you'd expect it to be. It's a normal guy. So I might just expose him to all his mates and show them that he does this sort of thing. But very peculiar behaviour, it has to be said. Have you got tickets for the Man United game? No, not yet. Not yet. I do also need to get some mods. Who wants to be a mod? Put yes if you'd be willing to be a mod, and if you're a regular that I know's here a lot, I'll mod you. Apologies for that disruption. What a tool. But yeah, with Gabriel, look, I don't think we benefit from seeing him leave. It would be very frustrating. And I don't think Mark Guehi is the solution. Right, George, I know you're regular. How? I'm like, yeah, I'll mod you. How does one mod? I don't think I can mod someone through StreamYard. That's the question. Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to... I'll do it after the stream. There's lots of you saying yes. So I'll go through and mod you. I'll go for a mod you. I'll deal with that in a bit. Anyway, so on the topic of Fulham and generally what we're doing at the moment, off the back of that game, first of all, Havertz didn't have a good game, right? Don't get me wrong, Havertz did not have a good game. Wasn't the only person, by the way, that didn't have a good game. Trossard really didn't have a good game. I'd have preferred to see Trossard off the left, either in Havertz's position or off the left wing. I think that would have been better for him. I think that's where, throughout kind of pre-season, that's where he looked the best. But I don't really understand the massive backlash that Kai Havertz is getting. I think it's scapegoating a little bit. I think if you're brutally honest, and look, lots of players, especially from last season, have got a lot of credit in the bank. And so I understand why, you know, people don't want to criticise their favourite players from last season, and Havertz is the easiest target, right? And I get that, I do. But you look at that game. Yes, Bukayo Saka scored his penalty, but he gave them the first goal, and he missed a sitter at the back post, that headed ball, which was a ball in from Trossard, and no one has said anything about it. And I understand why, I completely understand why. But I don't think we help ourselves by just blaming Havertz, because he really wasn't the problem. We had 3.25 XG, you know, which was the highest XG of any team that played this weekend. We conceded an XG of 0.5, and yet we conceded 2 goals. And I know people will say, you know, they're irrelevant, doesn't matter, this, that, and the other. It kind of does. because ultimately we dominated that game, and Kai Havertz was a part of the team that dominated the game. And I understand other points. Havertz should have to win his place in the side. I think Jake Madaford just said it there. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that's a fair point. I think it's a fair point to say Havertz should be on the bench until he's really ready to play. But there's a difference between that and people just immediately now saying, Havertz was a terrible signing. We got ripped off. It's a flop. He's rubbish. He's been rubbish for 3 years. He was rubbish at Chelsea. We should have known better. This, that, and the other. I just think it's an overreaction. And people say, because if you say, like, this is the best example, right? People in the same breath that they're saying, I shouldn't have been so harsh on Fabio Vieira, because Fabio Vieira had an excellent game this weekend. People go, I shouldn't have been so harsh on Fabio Vieira last season. Sorry, shouldn't have done that. Blah 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 blah. And in the same breath, they're going crazy on Kai Havertz. And then I'll say, well, surely you give Havertz the same sort of, you've learnt from the Fabio Vieira situation. You give Havertz time to adapt. And they'll go, he was cheaper and he came from a foreign league. Kai Havertz may as well have come from a foreign league. The way that Chelsea were playing, especially last season, he may as well have come from a foreign league. They were not playing Premier League football at the standard that Arsenal were, in any way the same style that Arsenal were. And so I don't really get this while he's Premier League proven. And if you want to look at another example, look at Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish joined Man City from a Premier League team for 100 million, and in his first season, it took an entire season out of his career where he was struggling. And yeah, fair enough, Pep benched him a few times, and maybe that will happen to Havertz. But Grealish was expensive and on a lot of money and Premier League proven and older than Kai Havertz and all of those things. And yet last year he was a fundamental part of them winning the treble. So I just think, and look, I get various people, are doing it for clicks and views and all that sort of stuff, but it just doesn't help anyone. I really don't think it helps anyone, and it certainly doesn't help Kai Havertz and his confidence. And I think you can tell he's a confidence player as well. So it's been quite frustrating to see that reaction. I swear people don't realise he's younger than Nketiah. Well, this is the thing. Because he's been at Chelsea for 3 years and people have known his name for so long, people do forget. He's nowhere near his prime. And I just think you've got to give him time. Look at Sterling last season, so poor, and Mount for United so far this season. Exactly. And Raheem Sterling said, he was asked, what's the difference between last season and this season? And he said, well, Pochettino came in and he told me to play more in a more attacking position, to hold a higher line, and be waiting for those opportunities. But yeah, people thought Sterling's career was over. So yeah, overall, I think the whole fan base just needs to keep a bit of composure. It really wasn't an awful game. Yes, 2 very poor mistakes have cost us. And throughout a season, you can't afford to make those mistakes. But the idea, even, Arteta's getting a lot of blame for changing things around. We did more than enough to win that game. We really did do enough to win the game. And so I don't even think that you can say the new system's completely not working. Again, we dominated that game more than we dominated the Fulham game last season. Last season, Gabriel got a last-minute winner. This season, he didn't. But, yeah, it's a tricky one. And then you look at the Man City-Sheffield game. Yeah, fine, City won. Congratulations to them. Rodri clutched up. They weren't good. And they didn't deserve to win the game. And they did. And again, it is a results-based business. But do you blame Pep for that? Do you blame Pep for the fact that, do you blame a certain Man City player for that? Not really. It's taking time for clubs to get into gear. True, but I pray he never plays Partey at right back again. I mean, look, I don't particularly want to see Partey in that position again, but also, it wasn't really the reason we lost. I think Partey, for their first goal, Partey bombs out of his position, which leaves all of that room, and that was a mistake. But again, overall, I don't think he was that bad. Max, yeah, Guess the Gooner will be coming up shortly. It will be coming up shortly. All the Havertz reaction shows me is that there's fans and pundits that are just waiting and hoping Arsenal fuck up so they can jump on them. Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. And there's that small group of the Arsenal fan base that make money and make views and generate more views when Arsenal do badly. And they're loving it. And they'll try and persuade you that the situation is way worse than it is. Because if they can persuade you that the situation's way worse than it is, they can justify themselves screaming and shouting and saying Arteta out and saying Havertz out and all the rest of it. And that's what they need. So, you know, I mean, I would just say just don't fall into that trap, to be honest. Don't fall into the trap of believing them. He's a much better midfielder, though. Yeah, but he's spending the majority of his time in midfield. This is the thing. I know you know, on paper, he's a right-back, and defensively, he moves into that right-back position a lot of the time. But we're spending 75% of the game with the ball. And when we've got the ball, he's normally in the midfield. So I don't think it's massively taking away from what he does. Rory, is it true that you were doing an exclusive content partnership with Lee Gunner soon? I'd rather boil my own head than do anything with Lee Gunner. So no, is the answer to that. Is Pepe leaving? Yeah, he should be. He should be leaving. But there's not actually been much on that at all. He is still attracting interest from Saudi Arabia and Spain. We'll wait and see. I did see the old version of AFTV on Saturday. Sad times if that continues. Yeah, look, it'll come back because it gets views. That is just factually, it gets views. And you'll never get rid of it. We need to give Havertz time, but I don't ever think the 8 role is for him. He's shocking on the half turn. I don't disagree that he does really need to work on the half turn. When he receives the ball at his feet, and the best contrast that you could give would be if you put Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Leandro Trossard. If you put any of them there, you feed a ball into them on the turn, they are much better than Havertz. But again, give him time, because I don't... And again, I think he's developed some bad habits at Chelsea where if he turned, if the ball was fed into him at Chelsea and he turned, no one would be within 20 yards of him in support. So it'd be pointless. So at Chelsea, the ball would come into his feet and he'd have to hold it up and he'd have to wait and he'd be waiting for people to get up with him. And I feel like he's still got that habit in him. And the other thing that I would say is gambling on those big opportunities. There was one opportunity where if he'd gone for it, the ball came across the 6-yard box. If he gambled, it's a tap-in. And he doesn't have that instinct anymore. I think he might have used to have it, but he doesn't have it anymore. And Declan Rice, actually, as well, doesn't have that instinct yet either. Not to the level that you need them to. So, look, these are things to work on, develop on. Again, it's their third competitive game. Him and Declan Rice, it's their third competitive game. I think, you know, give them time. Give them time. Is Cedric leaving? I hope so. Magnus, no worries. Good to see you in the chat. Who's finishing higher this season, Liverpool or Arsenal? Do you know what? Massively depends on whether or not Liverpool bring in a defensive midfielder in this final week. Because I'll tell you now, they got the win yesterday. All credit to them. You know, they battled and fought and they got the win. And fair play to Darwin Nunez. That midfield stinks. I can't lie. And actually, McAllister and Szoboszlai don't stink at all. But Endo, who they've brought in, is not a defensive midfielder. He's not a CDM. He's not a 6. He was playing there for Stuttgart because they didn't have one either. And now he's doing the same at Liverpool. But that's not where he's at his best. And he's nowhere near the level of Basuma, Partey, Rodri, Rice, any good defensive midfielder you can think of in the Premier League. He's nowhere near them. And they need that badly. So we'll wait and see. Did you see Xhaka's wonder goal at the weekend? I really do miss him. Yeah, but it was ruled out for offside. I've seen a lot of people sharing that. And again, we've got, you know, we could have had this, but now we've got Kai Havertz. It was offside. It was a great finish, but it was offside. Anyway, it is time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you an ex or current Arsenal player's career path minus the Arsenal part of it, and you have to guess who that player is in the chat, in the YouTube chat, of course. Fastest fingers first. Ross Lorman is in the chat. I've not seen VV Vlad or Beast Destroyer today, so it's going to be a competitive game. If you're watching on TikTok, you want to get involved, the link to my YouTube is in the Instagram icon in my bio. Get over there, subscribe whilst you're here, please do. It massively helps me out. And we will get into Guess the Gooner. This player started at Rennes. They went to Inter Milan. They went to Manchester United. They went on a free to Werder Bremen. They went to Portland Timbers. and they went to Chennai FC. So Rennes, Inter Milan, Manchester United, Werder Bremen, Portland Timbers, Chennai FC. It's not Pepe. It is not Pepe. It's not Cazorla. It's not Cazorla. It's not Sanchez, not Van Persie, not Pepe, not Sanchez. No one has got it so far. No one has got it so far. Rennes, Inter Milan, Manchester United, Werder Bremen, Portland Timbers, Chennai. No one has got it yet. I'm going to give you a clue to help. I'm going to put the Arsenal part of it in there. So it was Rennes, Inter Milan, Manchester United, Arsenal, Werder Bremen, Portland, Chennai. Not Lucas Podolski. Not Podolski. There we go. People have got it now. Who was first? It was... Where? It was... Benaldinho. It was Benaldinho. The answer was Mikel Silvestre. It was Benaldinho who got it first. Congratulations to Benaldinho. Drakkar was second. George Taylor was third. A lot of people saying Podolski, not Podolski. Elijah Bonadets was fourth. And Tiger was fifth. So there we go, Benaldinho. Congratulations to you. Well done to everyone else. It was a difficult one. It was a difficult one today, Mikel Silvestre. So congratulations. Do you agree with Arteta on starting Havertz every game to integrate him? I trust Arteta, but personally, I think it's going to kill his confidence and he should be brought off the bench slowly and in a cup game. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. I think, there's a very... Look, it would be very fair at this point. I think, in my opinion, Havertz has had one decent game against Forest, one all-right game against Crystal Palace, and one poor game against Fulham. And you can very easily argue that's not enough to keep your place in the team. Your catchphrase is, I don't disagree. Yeah, because I don't like to be proper I don't like to be like, no, you're wrong. I don't disagree is kind of like, I see your point, and I kind of disagree with it, but I don't fully disagree. Anyway, time for Guess the Non-Gooner. I've only got 2 minutes left before I need to jump off, so Guess the Non-Gooner. This is where I give you a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal, and I give you their full career path. Ross Lawman missed Guess the Gooner. His YouTube closed. It's a pain. So this is a player that does not and has not played for Arsenal, their full career path. They started at... Kawasaki Frontiers. They went to Sidole Sapporo. They on loan. They went to Tokyo Verdy on loan. They went to Tokyo Verdy full time. They went to Porto, Zenit St. Petersburg, Shanghai Shenhua, and Atletico MG. Now the important part of their career path, honestly, they were in Japan. They went to Porto, Zenit St. Petersburg, Shanghai Shenhua, Atletico MG. And Ross Lawman has got it. I'd be very surprised if anyone got it before Ross. Yeah, no one got it before Ross. It is indeed Hulk. It is Hulk, who had just a bizarre career. A really bizarre career. I don't even know who was... I think George Christodoulou was second. No one else even got it. I think the Japan start threw people off. Matthew Potts was third. Noah was fourth. But yeah, I think the Japanese start threw people off. But yeah, his career... he went to Porto for 19 million. He went to Zenit for 40 million. And he went to Shanghai Shenhua for 56 million. And then he went, and he was there for 5 years. I mean, he must have made lots of money, to be fair to him. He must have made a lot of money. But But there you go. Anyway, that is going to be the end of the stream. Like I said, I will be on the Football Terrorist, the top 6 show, in half an hour's time. So if you want to watch that, you want to watch me having to defend Mikel Arteta, which is what I think I'll have to be doing, then get involved. But if not, have a fantastic evening. Enjoy the rest of the bank holiday if you're from the UK. And I will be back at 5 p.m. tomorrow, as usual. And I'll see you then. Please do drop a like on the stream and subscribe before you leave. Good evening.